There was a man who sat in his car every single morning before work, just gripping the steering wheel, not because he was excited to go in, but because he was trying to find one reason not to quit. He had been trying to build something for 3 years. Just 3 years of early mornings, late nights, people laughing behind his back, bank accounts running dry, and a dream that seemed to get further away the harder he chased it. And every single morning, he would sit in that car, stare at the building in front of him, and ask himself the same question: is this still worth it? What happened next is going to change the way you think about everything you've been going through. Keep watching. My name doesn't matter right now. What matters is what I'm about to tell you, because there is something inside of you, something powerful, something stubborn, something that refuses to fully die. And today, we are going to wake it up. If you're new here and this kind of content speaks to your soul, do me one favor before this video is over. Hit that subscribe button, because what we build here in this space is not just motivation. It's a lifestyle. It's a standard. And you're going to need every piece of it for where you're going. Now let's get into this. That man in the car, his name was Marcus. And Marcus had what most people would call a normal life. He had a job, a small apartment, a car that ran most of the time, and a feeling deep in his chest every single day that he was supposed to be doing something more. He didn't know exactly what it was. He just knew that this wasn't it. So he started. He stayed up late learning. He invested money he didn't really have. Dedication is not a feeling. People think dedication feels like fire, like energy, like motivation pouring out of you every single morning because you're passionate and alive and hungry. And sometimes it does feel like that. But most of the time, most of the real, honest, unglamorous time, dedication feels like showing up anyway. When you don't feel any of those things, it feels like sitting at your desk when you're tired. It feels like making the call you've been avoiding. It feels like going back to something that rejected you once, twice, 10 times, and knocking on that door again. Dedication is not about how you feel. It is about the commitment you made to yourself on the day you decided you wanted more. Think about the singer Connie, 10 years in the industry, 10 years of performing in small venues, getting overlooked, watching others rise, wondering if she had what it took. And then, in year 10, she got her biggest hit. Or think about the artists who spent 20 years building a career, then separated for over a decade, came back as men in their 50s, and dropped their biggest album yet. 5 Grammy nominations. 5. These are not stories of overnight success. These are stories of competitive stamina. These are stories of people who made a decision somewhere along the way that they were not going to let time be the reason they quit. They understood something that most people never learn, that the clock is not your enemy. Impatience is. Here is what impatience does. It tells you that because you haven't seen results in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, that you're doing something wrong. It tells you that if it were meant to be, it would be easier. It tells you that the people succeeding around you must know something you don't. And slowly, quietly, impatience convinces you that the most logical, adult, responsible thing to do is to let go of the dream and settle for the safe thing. And I need to tell you, settling is not safe. Settling is the most dangerous thing you can do to yourself, because the cost of settling doesn't show up right away. It shows up 10 years from now in a life that is comfortable but hollow. It shows up in conversations where you talk about what you almost did. It shows up in the eyes of someone who looks at their own reflection and can't quite remember the last time they were proud of what they saw. Don't let that be you. Not today. Marcus didn't quit. Some mornings he wanted to. Some mornings the weight of 3 years of trying felt like it was going to crush him where he sat. But he did something on one particular morning that changed his trajectory forever. Instead of asking, "Is this still worth it?" he asked a different question. He asked, "Am I still learning?" And the answer was yes. He was better than he was a year ago. He understood more. He had failed in ways that taught him exactly what not to do. He had developed skills that he didn't have when he started. He had built resilience that can't be bought, and can't be faked, and he realized something in that car that most people never realize until it's too late. You don't fail when you're still in the game. You only fail when you walk off the field. So he stayed, and he adjusted, not his dream, but his approach. He stopped measuring his success against other people's timelines. He stopped checking to see if the world had noticed him yet. He set a standard for himself, a daily standard, and he executed against that standard every single morning, not because he felt like it, but because he had decided that his word to himself was the most important commitment he would ever keep. That is the story of everyone who has ever made it. Not the highlight reel version, the real version. The version where they almost quit but didn't. The version where they cried in private and smiled in public. The version where they lost people who didn't believe in them and gained people who did. The version where the work was hard and the rewards were slow and the temptation to stop was real. But they didn't stop. They kept going. One day, one decision, one standard at a time. Share this video with someone who needs it. You probably already thought of someone while you were watching. Send it to them. Because sometimes the most important thing you can do for the people you love is remind them who they are when they've forgotten. Not the loudest ones, not the most talented ones, the ones who showed up when they didn't have to, the ones who pushed when pushing made no logical sense, the ones who said, "I don't know how long this is going to take, but I am not leaving until it's done." Marcus built his thing. It didn't happen in year 1 or year 2 or year 3. It happened when he stopped focusing on whether it was happening fast enough and started focusing on whether he was showing up good enough. It happened when he traded excuses for adjustments. It happened when he stopped measuring himself against other people's results and started measuring himself against his own standard. And when it happened in a way he never could have predicted or planned for. Not because you saw a video that pumped you up for an hour, but because you made a decision today, a real one, that enough is enough and you are done being average. The price of greatness is not talent. It is not luck. It is the willingness to keep paying the price of effort long after most people have stopped, and you are willing to pay it. I know you are, because you are still here, and that already tells me everything I need to know about who you are and what you are capable of. Go get it, because they are not going to give it to you, and you don't need them to.